Hey.
Check.
No Condom Podcast.
Episode Tree 7.
Yeah. Trey 7. I don't know what I can really say about Trey 7. I could be like...
It's a 3 and a 7.
Treyway. Do you do... So, like, you know a 69? Is a 37 half of a 69?
37.5?
Yeah, 37.5.
All right, so 37 is like
halfway through this episode.
So it's like halfway through this episode, it's like... where is a 37.5 exactly?
And is half of 69 just a blowjob or
yeah, is it just oral sex for one person, or is it
So this whole conversation is a massive pause. Is
it though?
There were three guys talking about if we were part of a
69.
Of a 69.
But a 69 would be with a female, so I think you're the only one who needs the pause because you're the only one that assumed that for some reason there would be a dick in your mouth. Or at a 37.5, potentially near your mouth.
We were saying we were a 37.5. That's a pause.
Oh, okay. I'll give you a pause on that.
That's where I got that from. Like, I was like, that's a pause because we were saying we are the 37.
I'll give you a pause on that, I guess.
Okay.
But so it's September 12th.
Yo,
and
that's the thing. Some people say pause, but are the pauses approved?
This pause was approved by the LGBT community of Toronto.
Okay.
That's an approved pause. If they approve your pause,
right?
That's the best. Yeah. That's like getting a high appraisal on like a piece of jewelry or something. That's like, yo.
Like, do you think like Jim Jones watches the podcast? So when we say fax me that, like he's like, yo, I use that in the ad lib, and like, do you think like he would approve our fax me that?
I just put that a little closer to your mouth because I know you like hard
objects and
hard round tipped objects near your mouth.
I was still hearing my voice, pretty good, but yeah. So you think Jim Jones would approve our fax me that?
I don't know, but do you know what? I don't approve people using fax machine.
Right.
We already touched on that though.
Right.
But yo, today in history, it's September 12th. You got birthdays, 1913, Jesse Owens, run the track like Jesse Owens, right? 1944, the Love Maker, probably a reason why a lot of hip-hop people are here right now. Barry White was born.
Yo, Barry White. Like people talk about like best voices in hip-hop. He might be one of the best voices in music.
Yeah, he might be.
Like people.
That's not even like, I don't know if I can refute that. Yeah. Like, I like to play devil's advocate.
But Barry White might be the best voices in music.
He's definitely up there. Shout out to Barry White.
He's top 5.
1967, a man was born who inspired all of us to just whip our penises out whenever we want. Can you guess?
Louis C.K.?
Yeah, that's exactly who. You read my notes. Ooh. All right. 1976, a rapper from one of the most inspirational hip-hop groups of all time was born.
76?
Yeah, and he was the most light-skinned in the group with the most high-pitched voice.
He was born in 76.
Yeah. These dudes brought harmonies to the game. No pun intended. Busy Bone. Hey. And then 1981, we got Jennifer Hudson. So September 12th. Also, before we move forward, in 1974, Haile Selassie disposed following military coup of Derg, ending a 58-year reign.
Jennifer Hudson.
Haile Selassie.
Jennifer Hudson.
That's Rastafarianism right there.
Is it?
Yeah, you don't know Haile Selassie? He's the Messiah for Rastafarianism.
Sorry, I was trying to come up with a joke with the last thing.
Put that hardness near your mouth. Pause.
I was trying to come up with a joke for the last thing, and but I lost it because we were going
Jennifer Hudson.
Yeah.
Could you like, if we go back like 300 years, am I allowed to hunt her beaver?
I think it was perfectly legal.
Like, because you know what I'm saying, right? Like beaver, like I want the vagina, but Hudson Bay Co. came here and exploited people for the beavers.
Right.
There's a connected link there. Like, I think maybe like, just like out of respect to all my Aboriginal people, I should be able to go like, invade that beaver.
That's a fax me that for sure.
That's a fax me that?
Yeah,
All right.
I approve that. Fax me that.
All right. And to the people who think we're just crazy misogynistic, you know, we're just trying to get equal. You know what I'm saying?
And we're not saying you're saying you're gonna hunt that, but you're not saying you're gonna
well, I'm not going to exploit her pussy for 300 years and then shove it to the most non-agricultural parts of my country. No, I'm not going to do that to it because she's not going to live more than another 60 years top. Or let's be polite, like 80 years tops. So she doesn't even get that lifespan. But I think we should still be able to exploit the beaver of somebody with the last name Hudson.
Hashtag exploit the beaver.
Hashtag exploit the beaver. Justin Bieber. All right, but let's just hit one last fact before we move on with the show.
Hold
right.
Before we go on, we haven't even announced our guest.
Yes, we have C Raq in the place to be.
Yeah.
He's been on past
up,
episodes with us. Shout out to the homie C Raq. He's been holding down breaking records since day one. Before we were even breaking records, we were ICOM, and he was one of the original members. He only rapped one verse ever. Once we linked, he rapped before that, but. Man, the guy's got bars. He's Toro's brother. They're brothers with bars, and both of them are just like, nah, I don't rap.
And he was the first guest.
That still.
Yeah, these guys. Yeah,
he's the
these
first
guys
guest.
could rap. They're just like, meh.
And he was the first guest and the first returning guest.
This is true. You are the first returning guest.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
This is true. We're actually trying to make him the third guest, so people put your opinions in.
Yeah.
Let us know because
your comments down below.
If Ian gets enough love, then or C Raq, sorry, he might become a permanent co-host with us.
Yeah, but we gotta make sure he throws out all his condoms before he starts.
Yeah, that's facts.
Or poke holes in all of them.
At least poke holes.
At least poke holes.
Yo, fun fact I just learned. What was it on? I think it was Vlad talking to someone, which is so pause. But your sperm actually is only 2% sperm. So when you nut, because he was talking about Godfrey, about vasectomies and male birth control pills, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess they kill the sperm in you. So that's what the idea of the male birth control pill, right? You take it and it kills the living sperm. And they're having this conversation about vasectomies and can you still nut? And Vlad's like, actually, I learned that only 2% of when you nut is actual living sperm. So the other 98% is just all these other fluids. So when you get a vasectomy, you still bust out that 98%. So now I know where Nick Lachey and all of them got the name for their group from. You know what I mean? There's degrees to this.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
I never knew that. I knew it was obviously not all of it, but I didn't know it was that low of a
And Godfrey gets so hilarious on. He's just going. He's like, well, what if I separate the clear part from this? I count 3. Oh man, he goes wild on that. Godfrey's hilarious.
Yo, and that clip you sent. Oh my God.
The one I posted online?
Yeah.
The one where they're talking about the royal family?
Yeah.
Oh, oh my God.
Probably how they're incest, maybe?
Oh, no, it's just so funny, the impersonation. He's like, ain't nobody in that family happy. He's like, you wake up in the morning and it's like, oh, what? Oh my God, I can't remember the shit he was saying, but he was doing it with the accent and it was like, oh my God, this shit was so hilarious. He's like, what's a girl in Compton got anything in relation to he'd be like, oh my God.
I always kind of agree with that though. If you're born into that, what do you got to work towards almost? You're born into so much royalty and fame that it's like.
I agree. And I think, media is everything but how you work it, right? And the Kardashians, we were talking about this on Toronto Talks, but isn't it wild that the Kardashian, who is quite possibly the most famous family, if probably easily actually to say, in pop culture, they all started from a sex tape with a dude who's never even gone gold.
Yeah.
Ray J having sex with a girl on video started a dynasty. Isn't that crazy to think? That's like saying yo, I could walk across the road when we leave here and me stepping in front of a car and it having to take a 5-second course could change the course of history. That could make the difference of Kim Kardashian being president one day or not.
Hold on. But also when he was
he's Brandy's brother.
Hold on.
Yeah, that's how I know.
That's what people know him for. I know him for wait a minute. Wait a minute was hot. But okay, that's
so but you're saying that they're just known off that. But before he was Caitlyn, Bruce Jenner was an Olympic. Fucking,
yes, and the Jenner family, like Chris and stuff, they're famous from the OJ famous. Scandal and stuff. But they weren't a pop culture name though. Like Kim created that dynasty by doing the sex tape with Ray J.
Him becoming a gold medalist put her in the place to become that famous. Off of the,
it was almost kind of the same deal with like Paris Hilton. Like her parents weren't really nothing.
Well, Kim Kardashian was one of Paris Hilton's friends. That's the only reason that shit gained any traction.
Yeah,
it was like Paris Hilton's hot homegirl does sex tape with Ray J.
Yeah,
but like,
and I feel like every decade though, there's one it girl that doesn't really do nothing that's famous for nothing.
I guess I could maybe agree.
Hilton, then kind of Kim Kardashian. I bet you like.
But who was before that though?
I don't know who's
everyone before that.
Hilton,
I feel like was something. Mean, like, they're at least a model or something.
Right.
And
I
like,
was gonna say people like Marilyn Monroe,
a singer or something.
She was like something. Like she acted, and you're right.
Like
it's only been a trend for a little while, but I think it will be.
It's the sex tape that made it. It's the sex tape that made the whole thing. Everybody knows this.
Oh yeah,
it's like why that meme exists with like when Nori asked fucking Kim Kardashian, oh, what are you famous for, mommy, or some shit? And it's like whatever that meme is, but it's like I think that was even a story that went around that actually happened. Yeah, that she got asked why she's famous or whatever. But like,
oh no, it was her kid asked her.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's why it became such a funny topic on the internet because everyone knows what made her famous, and that started that whole legacy. So, and that's one thing I want to say to people too, not to get too deep and shit. Like we'll just move on this podcast in a second, but never give up on your dreams. Never give up on what you're doing because something as mundane as having sex with Ray J on a video camera could make your family a dynasty one day. Like the most minuscule move that means fucking nothing. Like, Pamela Lee and Tommy Lee Jones were both bigger celebrities with a sex tape that came out that leaked. And that didn't spiral their careers to make dynasties off it. You know what I mean? Like, it's so funny how like a minuscule... And like, no disrespect to Ray J, you guys probably don't even know. Wait a minute, I fuck with. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I did.
The Neptunes beat that shit was hot, but like, what the fuck he done since? You know, like for real. Like, what is Ray J's like? And no disrespect to Ray J, but you are Brandy's brother. Like, that's what you are. And then the girl who you did a sex video with is Kim Kardashian or is Paris Hilton's friend. Like, she wasn't Kim Kardashian back then. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like it's just crazy. Like something that minuscule can create you to be the biggest media dynasty. So that everyone out there feels like your efforts are worthless, just go sleep with Ray J. You know what I'm saying?
No. Here's my plan. We're going back in the podcast. Here's my plan. You want to know? I got a sick plan.
Yeah.
So like, this girl got famous, and she's in the royal family from marrying Harry.
Yeah.
The Queen. She's single, isn't she?
No, doesn't she have a husband? Or is he dead?
He's dead.
I think he died.
And she's just been kicking for so long.
Yeah.
That's the shit Harry says in that. Godfrey in that clip too. He's like, I'm just Prince. Like, God damn it, you ain't dead yet. Like, it's just hilarious. Watch Godfrey on Vlad talking about this. Like,
what if I got with the Queen though?
Yeah, I don't care what people say. Like,
that's
it's Queen
like
Elizabeth.
That Oprah
it's
money.
Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah,
like
that's bigger than that Oprah money.
If I got with the Queen, like that's like.
Do you think she's up on trends though? Like, do you think she only fucks with dudes with face tats?
No, she.
And you probably have to sign like a non-disclosure agreement and a prenup before you even hang out with her.
Yeah, the Queen likes the warmness inside of her when you don't use a condom. So when like one day she was just looking up the No Condom Podcast, and she's like, I like that chubby guy.
Yeah, but like the thing is too, you gotta think with the Queen, like you don't even think these regular broads got money to be dealing with like birth control and shit. Think about what the Queen got. Like she probably got like a fucking like spaceship inside of her that's like, you are not reptilian semen, denied, and like just fucking like ejects that shit back in your face. You're like, ah!
You probably don't even hear these guys again after if
you fuck the Queen, you probably die. She still has the right to behead Canadians. She just doesn't exercise it. But what if you don't know she's exercising it? Like maybe like any Canadian dude that's ever fucked the Queen just goes up missing.
Yeah.
What if I should eat that box right?
And then they're blamed for a terrorist attack.
She like just loves me, like, you know. What if I just eat that box right and she just loves me?
Oh, you know, maybe
would that make
she's
you
not better with.
If you get married to the Queen, does that make you king?
Right?
Is that possible? Could you just step in front of Harry and just I'm the king before you get the crown?
She ain't just fucking nobody. I mean, even if she is, like I said, there's probably non-disclosure agreements.
How does that work though? Yeah, if I marry the Queen,
Are you king?
Am I king before?
Yeah, well, that's why it's got to be a lonely life too. Like, what if your spouse dies while you're in office? Like, if you remarry, then you're giving the royal throne to somebody who you don't know if you can trust with it. So you basically got to stay single the rest of your life. Like, yo, I bet you Queen Elizabeth got mad prostitutes on her fucking black card.
Yeah, for sure. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way the Queen's celibate. Like, you know what I mean?
Hell no. She gave birth to kids.
That's what I mean.
She ain't celibate.
That's what I mean. Like, even after like her husband died or
she
whatever,
been
though,
fucking.
There's no way you're just like,
She been fucking.
Yeah.
The Queen, like.
And look at the only person to leave someone in the royal family in a divorce, Princess Diana. She got away with like I think $10 million or more because in England the divorce law isn't the amount of income made after the marriage, it's a whole life income. So she got like a half of that, and she got like tens of millions of dollars. Next thing you know, she's R.I.P. Like.
All right, so here's one last thing before we move on to anything else.
All right.
I want to say, you know how like
talking to that dick. Pause.
I've been talking to it. So you know how Roy says like, "Hi Rihanna." I just want to say on the podcast, "Hi Queen."
Hi Queen.
Word. When I say hi Queen, I'm gonna say hi Nikki. We got some bars for that coming out soon, though. Actually, by the time this is out, they might already be out. Either way. One more fun fact for today before we can really talk some shit. We're like 2/4 into the podcast, or 2/3 in already. But one more fun fact on the intro. In 2011, the 9/11 Museum opened in New York today. So if you've ever been in New York and you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool. I'll be honest, no disrespect to those who died.
What year was that?
2011. So I guess it was a decade and a day after the event happened. Did you go there with me when we were in New York, or did I go there a different time?
No, I was with you.
It was when you were with us, right? So yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. And people were still grieving like 10 years
later.
Yeah. At Ground Zero, people were still emotional.
Crazy about that.
It's cool. It's one of those things like the snowbirds. Once you do it once, you don't need to do it again.
The crazy thing about that, my dad, he was in the parking lot of the towers like literally like 2 days before.
Say word.
Like because he's a tour bus driver.
Oh wow.
And like the tour was up in the fucking towers, and he was sitting in the parking lot.
That's crazy.
And like he just got over the border when that shit happened.
That's crazy. Well, now I don't even want to get into topic. Like, now I want to ask you, because you're so close to it in relation somehow, like, how do you feel about 9/11? Like, what's your views on it? Do you think that is terrorism, or do you think it's clearly an inside job?
Inside job, for sure.
I feel like most people are on this wavelength, but you wouldn't be surprised how many people I talk to when, like, I'll be at work or some shit, or just like out in public, and I say some shit and they give me like a weird look, and I'm like, wow, this person hasn't even heard of a 9/11 conspiracy, let alone like actually done the research and look into it and to form an opinion. So like the only thing they knew is what the media told them. I'm like, whoa, like there's still people like this in 2018.
So like I've done,
they're older than me.
I haven't done extensive research, but one thing that I have watched, I've done a little bit of research on it. And like when you watch the towers get hit, and like you watch a control blast, like when people
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Do you know what the one that really I think is important to do it for anyone? Yeah. Is just watch World Trade Center 7 building.
Yeah, the building 7 was the one that really got me.
It's 2 blocks away, and sure, people want to make up all these arguments about the jet fuel and this and shit. Like, if you look at architectural blueprints of the 2 towers, they were built actually in 3 cores to not, like, against natural disasters and things like that. Like, they wouldn't have gone down the way they did with where the planes hit from what happened. They were built of concrete and steel, whatever you use. I'm not a fucking.
They were built like
I'm not
crazy,
but. So the things that they wouldn't even collapse the way they did. You're correct, but the thing is, a building 2 blocks away, that was also part of the World Trade Center structure, that got hit with no planes, just crumbled to the ground out of nowhere.
Oh, I didn't even know that part.
Go watch it up. World Trade Center 7.
Like I said, I didn't do the full research, but
7.
I see something.
That's what I find the most weirdest thing about the whole thing.
And there's all the other things, like like the thermite fucking melting piles for like months on end, to where they couldn't even remove debris because thermite burns for so long, and thermite's used in demolition. It's not in an airplane.
But they found the guy's passport or something.
That's the one that's the fucking bomb that hit near the Pentagon. They claim a plane hit, but the whole plane evaporated except for a voice box in the car and a passport. But all the steel and everything else evaporated except a passport.
And if you look at the hole in the Pentagon, if a plane hit that, where'd the wings hit?
Exactly.
Yeah,
a bomb hit.
Thing.
Yeah, where'd the wings hit? There's no damage of like anywhere like around that hole to show where the wings would hit.
And in my opinion,
the wings weren't outside. Like where were the wings?
Exactly. And in my opinion, this is conspiracy theorist Cal here. This is not backed up by evidence like anything else we've talked about to this point. That's why I'm stating it. But not only the wings, but you got to think about what was in that section of the Pentagon that made it okay to hit. Like, I bet you there are computers or some sort of networks in there that might have had some very incriminating information about certain people, different things. Like, there's definitely something you wanted to destroy by hitting that part. Like, you're not just choosing the Pentagon and allowing it to hit without there being something else on the other side of that, too. Like, nobody does. Like, look at me. I'm like, yo, I come to the studio, I go outside and I meet homie for tickets and I meet homie for the jacket. And I'm like, yo, 2 birds, 1 stone. You know what I mean? Like, and that's something simple in everyday life. Like, that's how you maneuver. You know what I mean? You get things done when you can the easiest possible way. And so do you think that's a coincidence that they actually were allowed to hit the Pentagon? Like, I think there's something inside the Pentagon in that section that maybe...
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. And like also,
was it a file archive? Like, what was there? How do we really know what was in that section of the Pentagon? It was one of the most fucking protected security buildings in the USA. Did they tell us what section was hit? And even if they did, there's so many lies about everything else. Was that the truth?
And also, like that day, what was it? 4 planes, 2 hit the towers and 1 hit the Pentagon, and then there was another plane that went down.
That the people's
in the field.
In the field.
It's like and
that's the one they found the passport in, if I'm not mistaken.
That's the one?
The random hole in a field, everything evaporated.
So like
except for the voice box that recorded the conversations and one person's passport.
But
all the metal of the plane evaporated.
Okay, so what was that plane up to, and who was on that plane?
That's another big question, and that's one thing Ian actually knows a lot about with the was it the Malaysian flight?
Yeah, the Malaysian.
So tell Eddie about that, because that's something you researched a lot.
I just thought of that now. I was like,
tell Eddie about the Malaysian flight.
The research
you remember the Malaysian flight, right?
Yeah, it disappeared.
The one that disappeared.
No,
they haven't found yet. Okay, well, there was this airplane.
It was years ago.
Okay,
like 3-4 years ago, right?
Put me on.
Maybe even 5.
And
put me on.
Yeah, I guess apparently even after they took off, the black box was turned off, so they couldn't hear nothing after like a minute or 2 after takeoff. This plane completely disappeared. They never found nothing about it. No scrap, nothing. They looked for it forever. And like when I started doing some research, I found out who was on the plane, and it was like some people that build computer chips for weapon technology. Like, you know what I mean? And like, it just, I couldn't put two and
it
two
was
together.
All the important people of the company. So
yeah,
the
really
CEO,
people.
like the really high up people who like covered like the head of like the fucking
computer chips that could like guide missiles. Basically.
And it was basically
just disappeared.
How many people did you say originally it was? Like 100 or so.
I'm not
people?
sure. Yeah,
like,
it was something like that.
Like the large,
like a full plane,
a full plane, and a large portion of it were people who were important to this microchip company.
Yeah, and I like it's just weird that you still can't find anything about this plane. You know, they find like Osama in a fucking
in a cave,
whatever.
Yeah. When
like,
he
you know
was part of a plan.
Yeah,
that's a crazy
but
thing.
They can't find this plane.
This is another piece of evidence people don't look at.
They can't find out who killed Tupac in a Las Vegas strip in front of like fucking a Mike Tyson fight.
Right. But yo, do you know what the other thing is too though with 9/11? See, now it's going to start getting too conspiracy theory. But this is factual as well too. Did you know that after 9/11, the only plane allowed to fly out of the country, I believe it was for 2 days, it was a CIA or like a government plane, and the plane actually consisted of I think 36. Correct me if I'm wrong, but number-wise, Saudi Arabians, and I think like 80% of them or like 60% of them, they had the last name Bin Laden. And the thing is, the Bush family and the Bin Laden family were business partners in numerous companies and corporations.
I've seen pictures with them.
George Bush's father was having a meeting in New York City the morning of 9/11 with Bin Laden people, and that's why they're flown out with family members of Bin Laden. So the way that they pass it off is that like the Bin Laden family pass it off like, oh, he was our crazy AWOL son. He started a quote unquote rebel movement, this and this. But all this shit was conscribed. It was all planned. So to me personally, what happened, Ian? I think it's something else you told me about after researching. But when they finally did kill Osama, which I just thought was bullshit, but Ian's like, no, I think they actually did it. He's like, but did you know they dumped the body in the ocean on the way? There's no picture of him dead. He was dumped in the ocean, even though by strict orders he was supposed to come back to U.S. soil. For some reason, the soldiers on this boat or whoever was in charge was like, well, we're just going to dump it anyways.
I'm just saying, if that happens. If I killed Osama, I'd be taking selfies. I don't care what kind of backlash I would take. Like, I don't, like, you know, look how many people would respect that.
You want proof of that.
You want proof, right?
So to me, I personally don't think Osama bin Laden was ever captured or murdered, in my personal opinion. Now, they killed Saddam Hussein, but the beef was different. That was an inside job. Saddam Hussein wouldn't conform to the central banking system of the planet. He wouldn't conform to American importation law, like whatever it is. You know what I mean? He wasn't following the plan. So they took him out. It's the same way they tried to take out Saddam Hussein. It's all the same shit. Do you know what the crazy thing is? 10 years ago, I read an article, and it said the 5 countries that still hadn't been infiltrated by the central banking system that basically controls and runs every other country. And the top country on that list was Nigeria. And it might have been you. I can't remember who it was, but someone I was hanging out with at the time, I was like, yo, this is crazy. Read this. And they kind of read it, whatever. I'm like, I guarantee you Nigeria is the next country America goes to war with. And what happened?
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't think that was me, but yeah, that's crazy.
And that's exactly it. It's a central banking system conformity. But yeah, we're getting too political, so let's end it off on that. We talked about, we basically just did a whole episode on today's events. One last thing before we get out of here. Eminem dropped a surprise album today. He dissed Drake, Lord Jamar, Academics, Lil Yachty, MGK, Tyler the Creator, Charlamagne and Bud, and I just dated ourselves because today is actually the day it dropped, and this doesn't drop till September 12th, so you just caught a mad oxymoron. But either way,
who cares?
Do people want that smoke, though?
People got to know that we have regular jobs, and we don't have
time to get
together
when you
every
catch
week.
When you catch this, it's not fresh.
Yeah.
Always. Sometimes
Semi-fresh.
it is. Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it's like the next, it's like right after we do it.
But do we have any opinions on this?
Yo, the Eminem album. Okay, so I listened to it on the way up here. So the first 3 tracks I listened to, and we could probably just end it with the Eminem talk. So the first 3 tracks, I felt like he was just like being bitter. He was talking about
everyone who hated Revival.
Everybody hated Revival, and then the third, the skit that came after the third song was Paul. Talking about, he's like, yo, are you seriously going to do a whole album about people
who diss your album, and then what? And then when they diss this album, you're going to diss them back
I wasn't feeling the first 3 songs. I was like, what are people talking about? Because a lot of people were raving about it.
The other songs where he does diss these people, he's dissing them because of their bad reviews of the album. So even though the content shifts, it's still the same hatred.
Yeah, it is. But like the first 3 songs to me, like I didn't feel it. I was like, where is this album going? I'm like, and I heard mad people say, this is the album, this is Eminem out of his fucking shit.
And then it caught on after that.
And then that skit came, the next song, like I was like, yo, I feel this song. And like, I didn't feel every song after that, but I felt the majority after that. So like me, for me, the whole album, the first 3 songs, I could do without.
Man, me, like Eminem, like ask C Raq, he knows. He's seen me stand over Eminem albums that weren't that good. I didn't even peep Revival because of the reviews and everything I heard off it. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, he just went even further away. You know what I mean? But then when this morning I seen he dropped a surprise album, so I'm like, yo, let me peep it. And because I got Spotify, but I ain't pay for it, everything goes like shuffle, right? So I got through about like 4 or 5 songs of the album. I got through both skits. And then I started playing old Eminem shit. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. And then, peeped all the social medias and what happened. But either way, I was impressed. I was like, wow. Like, it was like when Jay-Z dropped 444. Because, Magna Carta wasn't the greatest. But it was like, then you're like, whoa. Like, yo, like, one of my favorites is back. And that's how I felt about this. So
I just want to say I haven't heard it yet. I'm about to check it out. So
C Raq hates Eminem already. So either way, No Condom Podcast.
Yeah.
And we the fuck out.